talk about Charles because, like, he's got something coming up with Dariush, and we
Seems
just
like it's in
mentioned
the
him.
works. Seems like it's in the works. Dariush versus Connor. Now that Fazeev versus Gaethje's booked, which we'll talk about in a little bit, the matchup that's the obvious matchup, and Oliveira's hinted to this matchup in the most obvious way possible. I don't know if you saw, but there was a video on YouTube, I believe, or somewhere that was in November or something. They're like
Sure, it was
Dariush
YouTube
versus
or Instagram.
something, some social
Yeah,
social
yeah.
media. They were like Dariush versus Oliveira is the fight to make,
Hmm.
whatever. They were giving reasonings and stuff, but it was from a while ago. Charles a few days ago literally commented an emoji on it, like some emoji. Like, why are you commenting on that emoji on something from a while ago if there's not more to it? You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
think that's the next fight that's being made. It's the only fight that makes sense. What they're gonna do, Poirier versus Dariush? Come on,
No.
nobody cares to see that fight. Charles said also he wants to return as early as March or April, March, April, or June, something like that, along those the next few months. And I think that's a perfect matchup for both guys. You know, if you're Dariush, you beat Charles Oliveira, you can't like you. First of all, you'll gain a lot of confidence going into Islam. Second of all, like you can't deny him a title shot anymore. If you're Charles Oliveira, you beat a guy like Beneil Dariush, he gets his confidence right back. And I honestly think we could see a better Charles Oliveira against Islam Makhachev than we saw in the first fight. Just because like sometimes like the guys when they lose, you get like there's different ways that people handle losses. Some people handle losses, they lose and they completely go downhill. Some guys they lose and they look at where they can improve on and they improve on that stuff and they have a better fight. So I think this is a great fight for both guys. Um, I'm really hoping that they book this for a 5 round main event for a fight night, but just not at the Apex, or a 5 round co-main event for a pay-per-view, because this fight deserves to have fans in attendance for. What do you think?
Honestly, man, I like this fight. I think it's very competitive. You know, I don't care if Charles ever becomes champion again, and partly that's just because I'm so happy that he became a champion. His story is just so beautiful. It's so motivational. Coming from the favelas, one of the worst places to grow up in the world, such a humble beginning, having a rough start to his UFC career, losing fights, getting finished, being like, a guy that was under 500 and then going on this tremendous win streak, becoming a champion, defending his belt multiple times, going against the odds against Justin Gaethje when he missed weight, and there was some sketchy shit going on in the athletic with the athletic fucking sanctions. But man, I appreciate that Charles was even champ to begin with, and I honestly don't have an issue with saying this because of that. I think that the style that Charles Oliveira had, that he used to become a champion, that's that going forward, with reckless abandon, marching you down. I'm going to impose my will, and no matter what happens, I'm going to win no matter what. I'll get dropped 10 times. He needed that to become a champion, and it worked because he also has the skills when it comes to finishing. He's
Mm-hmm.
got some of the best jiu-jitsu I've ever seen in MMA, some of the best grappling in MMA, but I think that style has an expiration date. And for certain fighters, once that like marauder going forward, being willing to take a lot of shots, once that doesn't work anymore, they go downhill fast. And there are guys like Tony Ferguson. There are guys that like when they were going through everybody, they were still having wars. They were still putting on bangers. And Charles Oliveira is putting on bangers. The thing is, Dustin Poirier, he doesn't get hit that much. Like he has wars, but especially when it comes to his boxing, getting hit in the head, sure, he gets hit, but not as much as a guy like Charles.
No. He's got some
And he
heavyweight
also
guys.
has a granite chin. Charles was never known for having a granite chin. He was known for just being tough. And the thing is, man, I feel like he's going to lose to Dariush, and I think
I
it's
think
just
so.
going to be because of the chin. Like, here's what it is. I think that's the style that he needed to become successful because it gave him confidence, especially when he kept winning. There's no way Charles Oliveira can go in there and strike with Dustin Poirier and get the clinch and knee him to the body and gas him out just by being relentless after getting dropped multiple times without that confidence. And the thing is, he just got knocked down and submitted. And I know this is not Islam Makhachev, and I know that it's going to be harder for Beneil Dariush to submit him if he knocks him down. But dude, if he gets knocked down, he's not fighting Justin Gaethje or Dustin Poirier. He's fighting Beneil Dariush, who's like one of the best grapplers at the lightweight division. He proved that against Mateusz Gamrot. He's sick on the ground, and he's strong too. And the thing is, he has power. We've seen him drop guys, we've seen him KO guys, and I'm just worried that like Charles Oliveira needs to be able to take a shot. He needs to be able to get like, I mean, he's gotten dropped in all of his last fights. And it's not like Beneil Dariush doesn't hit hard.
He hits just as hard as any of these guys.
Yeah. I mean, I fear that Charles Oliveira's chin is really going downhill. And I feel like if he gets dropped, like I just don't think it's going to go so well. You know, because we know that when someone gets on top of you, you could have a sick ground game. You know, it's usually, you know, your MMA submission skills drop by 50%. You know what I mean? So unless you're Paul Craig, I'm going to lean towards Dariush. I feel like he's got the better chin. He's tougher. He's okay on the feet. He's a really good wrestler. I mean, it's going to be hard to take him down. And I feel like the way that Charles wins is by hurting him. And I feel like when it comes to who's gonna get dropped first, I think it's more likely that Charles gets dropped first. I mean, if Charles can drop Dariush, I think he'll finish him.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like Charles is gonna come out a little more tentative because his last fight he got dropped and he got submitted, and he's been getting dropped a lot. I hope this time off refreshes his chin. Because it's all dependent on the chin. I think he's a better fighter than Beneil Dariush. It's just the chin, dude. And I think there's an expiration. I'm gonna pick Dariush.
Yeah, I think Charles Oliveira should win this fight. Will he win it? I don't know, because I think people are gonna see what Islam Makhachev did to Charles, and they're gonna start when they're hurting him. They're gonna start jumping on top of him. I think, and I think that's what people are made mistakes in the past. Like I think when Gaethje hurt Charles, he should have jumped on top of him. I think that when Poirier jumped,
Gaethje would have been fucked.
Or Poirier, I think one of these guys, like I think
Dariush is different than these guys, bro. Dariush is
exactly no, so it's going to be even easier. But I'm saying, like, what I'm saying is like I just think that people were overestimating. Like I think they were just like thinking he was doing it as a joke and like, or just to get people to jump on top of him and stuff like that. But I think he's been hurt when he gets dropped in these fights. And when you're on the ground with someone who's hurt, they could be amazing at jiu-jitsu. You could still finish them. You know what I mean? Like if you're decent on the ground. So I think that's kind of what people made mistakes in the past with, or at least engage a little bit. You should engage a little bit with him. You know what I mean? And Charles Oliveira has shown quit. You know what I mean? He's shown quit. That was kind of the argument before that he doesn't show quit. He showed quit again. He still has it in him to quit.
I don't know if he showed quit against Islam though. I feel like
he's still tapped. So like,
yeah, but that's I don't also kind of I don't count tapping as quitting.
But it was also a little early. And
but Islam's squeeze, bro. Like
that is true. But anyways, Beneil Dariush is a very good grappler too. So like, it doesn't even need to be like, it's not even like we're talking about a Justin Gaethje or Dustin Poirier. Like if Benny drops him, I think he submits him too, or I think he finishes off with ground and pound. I don't think he's gonna be worried about Charles's grappling when he's hurt. Like, you know what I mean? So, but at the same time, Charles is the way more skilled fighter than Dariush. He's got way more skill. So he could win this fight, but I can just see this fight. I think it's a 50-50 fight because I can see it going both ways. I can see Charles being too much for Dariush and really hurting him and dropping him and just finishing him or submitting him or anything. But I can also see Charles' chin just not being the same, him being a little tentative, getting dropped and just getting submitted right away. Like in the first round at some point, or first round, you know. But if I had to make an early prediction, I would probably say I'm gonna say Charles beats Benny. I'm gonna say he does. I think he's gonna be too much for him, and I think he's gonna come out super aggressive, and maybe not right away, but I think at some point in the first two rounds, I think he's gonna be a little bit too much for Benny. I think he's gonna knock him down and submit him by rear naked choke. That's my prediction. But I can also see Benny winning also. Like I think it's a 50-50 fight, but I just think Charles I'm gonna be picking Charles. Yeah, I would say.
I
But,
hope to God that it's not a fucking fight night in an Apex.
because this is gonna be a banger of a fight. That's what I have to say.
If they
But
put this in the Apex, that is like I'm actually going to
same with
I'm gonna
AG
make a video
versus
about it.
They better not put it to Apex. But I mean, I could also kind of see. I mean, I was gonna say I could see it being Dariush versus Tony, kind of similar to that, but I actually don't think I could because I think Oliveira is better on the ground than Tony
Oh
was.
yeah, there's no way. Tony's kind of trash like on the ground compared to
On his
Oliveira
back,
on his
yeah.
yeah, Tony's good on the ground like he's pretty nasty, but when he fought Dariush, he was washed. Like this was after
But
Charles
the
fucked
but
him up
the
on the
but
ground.
but the on the ground doesn't really change that much as you get old. I feel like that
Yeah,
kind of
but I still think Charles
Charles is better though.
Islam didn't do anything to Charles on the ground.
Yeah, Charles was very impressive against Islam in that first round, I have to say though. But in terms of being on the ground, pulling guard was very stupid. But whatever. Back to the Dariush versus Charles. I just think like I can envision it just being Charles just being way too much for Dariush and just knocking him down and
See, the thing is, I understand that, and that's the way I think he would win because for me, like Charles, the reason he became a champion is because he was too much everywhere. Like he was always pressuring, even against Michael Chandler, he was pressuring as soon as that second round started. He was marching forward and he knocked him out. Fucking knocked him out. Like who else has knocked out Chandler that way? Not many people. Like he just put him out with a beautiful left hook combination against the fence. He was out of there. But I just think that, Chandler was tired. He gassed out. I think that after after his championship reign, I feel like there's an expiration date and Charles needed that toughness. He had a ticking time bomb and I feel like it's blown up at this point. When he was champion, the Charles Oliveira that fought Dustin, like nobody beats him when he fought like Islam might have been the only guy.
Yeah.
I think if he fought Dariush back then, he would have fucked him up. I just think at this point he's taken so much damage that I think when these guys have an exchange and they get wild because both of them can be wild on the feet. I just think that Dariush probably got that chin.
He's
and
gonna drop him. And
yeah, I just think Dariush
if Dariush drops him, he's gonna win the fight. That's what I think. Whoever drops who is gonna win the fight.
And I think that Charles is easier to hit. He gets hit a lot, man.
I agree. But at the same time, I can also just see Charles just like coming out like with just like guns blazing, and then just being way too much for Dariush. When clipping him and just submitting him.
I'm thinking about the Gagey fight. Gagey still dropped him, like and that's
everyone drops him. That's the problem.
Everyone drops him, but here's the thing: it's like he got dropped by Poirier. That's Poirier. He's nowhere near the same level of wrestler grapplers. And of course, Gagey's shit on the ground. He's dog shit on the ground. So I just know that the chances of him getting dropped seem very likely. And the chances of this guy going to the ground with him is also pretty likely. So I don't know, man.
My thing is just
I could see Dariush winning a decision too, just knocking him down and getting on top of him.
I don't think an Oliveira fight can go to a decision.
I think I wouldn't be surprised, man. I'm really rolling with Dariush. Like I know that Charles can finish anyone in the lightweight division.
Even Islam.
I feel like his style was only good when he was like that. Only worked to get him to the top to become a champ. Like once it doesn't work anymore, it'll never work again. That's the way I feel like. It's not that he's been exposed. It's just that he's taken too much damage at this point. And I think that he needed to have a style like that to become a champion, to be a reigning champion. And now, after a while, once the damage adds up and now you're getting dropped super easily and you're only going to take on these high-level grapplers, like, I don't think it's going to work. If he was fighting Gagey again, I'd pick him. If he was fighting a striker like Poirier again, I'd pick him. But not against a guy with power who can also wrestle and grapple is at the top of the division. I would still pick Oliveira to beat tons of strikers, just not this guy.
I think what we also got to remember, I think Oliveira is going to change. I think he should change his style to fight Dariush. I don't think.
How do you think so?
I don't think he needs to be wild against Dariush. I think he could like just strike with him like a little bit calmer. Like Dariush would strike with people. That's the thing.
Charles is a better striker for sure. He just gets hit.
Yeah, but I mean, if he's less aggressive, he's not going to get hit as much. You know what I'm saying? So
The
like if
Charles that fought Justin Gaethje with like that was some of the best striking ever, bro. And he was taking big shots. Like he doesn't get knocked down by everything. He was taking big shots and taking them. I just think that like, man,
I could see it going both ways. I just think that
same.
Oliveira should be able to win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he's able to win.
I could just picture him winning. I could just picture him knocking Dariush down and then just submitting him. I could just see it. But at the same time, I can also see Charles's chin just being like done at this point and just getting knocked down. And Dariush won't be scared to get on top of him because he saw what Islam did to
Yeah.
him. I think he would just get on top of him and submit him too. Like I can see both ways. That's the crazy thing. I just think that like Oliveira should be able to win though,
Yeah.
but it's 50-50. If I were to would I put money on it? No. I'm definitely leaning Charles at this point.
I'd put money on it, bro. I would put money if I think that the underdog is going to be Beneil Dariush. I
I
think
think
that's a really
Darius
good
should be on.
underdog.
It's gonna be close though, I would say,
It's
right?
going to be close, but I know that Beneil is going to be the underdog, and because people are like he lost to Islam, he's still a beast. Like I know he's still good, but it's just about the chin for me. Like I just
Yeah.
feel like he's too easily hurt,
I see
and
that also.
I don't like that.
I just at the same time, like I just if if he doesn't get dropped in the first round, he's gonna win the fight.
Dude, I don't think he cannot. I don't
Yeah,
think he
that's
can get away with not getting dropped in the first
it's
round.
such a weird thing because like Charles could just finish anybody.
He
It's
gets
just
dropped.
but he could also lose to anybody. Like Islam, he could have finished Islam, but he was also could have gotten like destroyed, which he did. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like he has the ability to knock power and ability to knock out anybody, but like he also just opens himself up so much to get
I hope
hurt and
Charles
stuff.
goes out there guns blazing and just fucking puts it on the line. The thing is, I
I
don't
don't
think
know if
that's
you
gonna
can do
happen, and
that.
I think he's still gonna get caught. Like I don't care that much. I want Charles to win. I'll be rooting for him. He's one of my favorite fighters. If he wins, I'll be so happy, and I'd love to see him win because I don't really give a shit about Beneil Dariush.
Oh, he's
I'm
very
just
good.
gonna pick Beneil Dariush because I think he'll win.
I'm 50-50. I'm pretty much 50-50, 51 Charles.
I'm 65, 35.
I'm about 40. I'm about 51-49 for Charles. So I'm
Okay.
not very confident at all. But I just have an image in my head of just Charles just like catching him and then getting his back and like submitting him. So I'm gonna be picking Charles. But if Dariush wins, I'm not gonna be surprised at all. I won't be betting on this at all. I'm not confident enough on either guy. Maybe my pick will change, but I don't know. I'm hoping my hope is that Charles changes up his style a little bit.